Hey there, coaches. This is Coach Tall Guy coming at you today with a little what I like to call Coach Talk. I do a little bit better when I'm talking with a cup of coffee, but I hope you guys find this entertaining and well worth your time. But today I want to talk about the art of transitioning within your practice. So what we find is a lot of coaches, they'll come to me and be like, "Hey, Coach Tall Guy, it's really hard. I feel like I'm just herding cats all the time at practice." And that's pretty normal. And it is difficult, particularly when those kids are young, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're just really trying to get them wrangled up, get them going between activities. So that's really where the art of transitioning comes into play. So whenever you're practicing, you want to have some sort of plan that you're going to build from activity to activity. The death of any session, in my opinion, is having too much downtime between your activities. That's when the kids get distracted. That's when they get a little squirrely. And then you're spending a lot of time just trying to get them back into the session. And no offense, but when you're spending all that time, the kids aren't getting a lot out of it. You're not getting a lot out of it. And I find a lot of coaches, they start to get frustrated. They get a lot of anxiety. Their tone with the kids starts to change because they're frustrated and they just want to move on, and they can't because they're having a tough time wrangling the kids up. So some things that are going to set you up for failure is if your activities don't flow. So for instance, a lot of young coaches, I'll see them have an idea of what they want to do at practice. Let's say they start with dribbling, but then all of a sudden they're transitioning to passing, and then they've got to reset up a lot of different cones. The kids are now, they've been on a water break, or they're waiting for the coach to move on to set up the cones. And then all of a sudden you've kind of lost the kids. So if you have a theme, can you kind of try to build on that theme? So if it's dribbling, stick with dribbling. When you're setting up your activities, can you create some activities where there's not a lot of movement of cones, not a lot of transitioning from, oh, I got 3 cones in this activity, I'm going to need 10 cones for the next activity. That's just going to eat up some time. Now, I'm going to use this, time with you guys to give you some hints on how to transition better. What I see, particularly with the young kids, is, the minute you send them to a water break, if you don't give them an expectation of how much time they're going to have at a water break, then they're going to take forever. If you don't put some sort of time restriction on them, like, hey guys, we got 30 seconds, we got 45 seconds to get some water. By just setting that expectation for the kids, they know that, hey, my job is to get water, not to have a water fight, or my job's not to, spill water all over the place. That's going to help you out quite a bit. The kids know, like, okay, I've only got a certain amount of time. I got to get back to the field. I love to use what we call the countdown method with players. So many times you'll hear me in my session say, hey, you got 5 seconds to get to this spot, or you have 10 seconds to get to this spot. That countdown method is awesome because it really gets them going, okay, I got to go. I got to get there. And then they know they're hearing the countdown 10, 9, 8, 7 is conditioning to them to get to wherever they need to go quickly. All right. A lot of times with players too, as you're giving instructions, can you get their attention not only through the countdown method, but sometimes I'll do something as simple as a clap, and then the players have to clap that back to me. Again, I'm just trying to get their focus and attention on me as quick as I can. All right. So when we talk about transitioning as well, it would be shocking if you were to put a clock on how much time is used up going from activity to activity, explaining the activities. It's a fair amount of time for a coach who hasn't had a lot of practice. So the sooner we can get the kids organized, the sooner we can get them into their activities, the more time they're going to have on the field, the more time they're touching the soccer ball, the better soccer players that they're going to be. But you got to have an idea of how you want to transition from activity to activity. So the 2 things I really would encourage you to focus on in your practice is, what is the theme? How can I set up minimal amount of cones so that I'm not switching from activity to activity? Can you set the expectations on a water break that you only have so much time in your water break? Can you use some sort of method to get their attention, to get them organized quickly into whatever your activity is? I would highly encourage that you try that countdown method. There's other methods you can use, like I did with the clap to get their attention. You can do things like, last one in, we're gonna, have to do something if we're not there in time. Sometimes the kids will be like, okay, well, we don't want to do push-ups, but you're always going to get one or two of those kids who are like, yeah, okay, I'll do the push-ups. And that's not really going to help you. So the sooner you get them in, the better it's going to be. For you guys, it's going to save you a ton of stress. That really is the key, is like corralling them, but you got to have some little tricks in there. You could also do things like, show me how many fingers I'm holding up. Then all of a sudden their eyes are on you. The tone of your voice, if you're doing a countdown method and you're like, you have 10 seconds to get to your activity, that's not creating any sort of sense of urgency within the kids. Now, if you're like, hey guys, we got 10 seconds, you got to get this done. If we don't get this done, we can't go to scrimmage. And notice I use that we can't go to a scrimmage thing because I'm trying to, again, incentivize these kids to get organized as fast as they can. And one of the things they love to do is scrimmage. So I use the scrimmage as kind of like, I'm dangling a carrot in front of them. Like, you got to do what you got to do if you want to get to the really, really fun stuff. All right. So, again, just do your best on the transitioning. I really do think that countdown method's going to help you. I think the inflection of your voice is huge. Once you get that transition crushed, your practices are going to go a lot faster. They're going to go more smooth. The players are going to be more dialed in. You're not going to be so anxious. You're not going to have a ton of anxiety, and you're not going to get frustrated. All right. So, yeah. And there's just going to be some days when it's hard to get their attention for whatever reason. Maybe they had a sugar rush, or something was going on at school or in their lives, and it's just hard to get them focused. Another thing I would encourage you guys to do is, within the teams, there's going to be these little friendships. Sometimes those can be the biggest distractors. We want the kids obviously to be with their friends, but sometimes some kids, even though they're friends, they just can't function together. They just distract one another too often. So, you're going to want to split those kids up from time to time, or reward them and say, hey, you guys can be partners, but here's what I need to see. And you're going to get some more buy-in from those kids, because those kids can really ruin a session pretty quick and really disrupt your transitioning if they're the ones distracted. Another thing I do see a lot is when you're giving instructions, kids are pulling out the grass. You really want to ask that their eyes are on you. And don't be afraid to set those expectations like, hey, when I do this, I expect this. And even though you're a recreational coach, that doesn't mean, they're not going to rise to the occasion. You'll be surprised if you really set the bar for them and have some expectations. They're going to meet it. They're going to meet it, and they're going to enjoy meeting it as well. And you're going to have a great practice. So, a couple announcements as well. Our winter camps are open online. So coaches, I would encourage your kiddos to register for our winter camps. Those are run by myself, our staff. So it's a good time. We offer 2 sessions, one starting in November and then another session in January. These will be weekly. The themes of the camps are technical training, small group training, and then the kids are going to play. They're going to scrimmage, but they'll get to see the directors of coaching. It's a nice way to keep the kids active and involved in the wintertime. To give you a heads up, those are going to be at the Apex Field House. If you're talking to your team, encourage them to register online quicker than later, because with all the COVID stuff, we're only allowed to have so many kids in the field house at a time. So we're not able to accommodate as many kids as we were in the past. But we'd love to try to get as many kids out as we can. I know I've gotten questions from coaches like, well, what about leagues and things? Edge doesn't offer like a winter league, but you can go to the Apex website, and they offer some winter soccer leagues. Depending on the age of your team, there may be some divisions or there may not. For definitely like U9 and up, they tend to have indoor soccer opportunities. But I want to be pretty clear for you guys who are older teams, like the U9s and up, you have the possibility of playing some of these teams who are in our academy program or are currently playing competitive soccer. So you want to be aware. And if you are registering and the kids want to play, I would ask some questions like, well, what teams have you seen register so far? What leagues? Because unfortunately, we've had some recreational teams. they go, they enter the league, and then they're playing a bunch of competitive teams, and it's just not a great game. So that's a little food for thought. Think about that. Near as the season's starting to wrap up too, obviously as coaches, we're so thankful to have you in our club. We'd love to have you come back. If you're a U4 through U8 coach, if you could maybe just drop a line here in the next few weeks to Coach Roberts, let him know, like, yeah, I'm planning on coming back for sure in the spring, or I'm a maybe, or, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it in the spring. That would be great. That way we can start kind of anticipating who's coming back, who's not coming back. And if you're a U9 and older coach, let me know the same thing if you plan on coming back or not coming back, or if you're a maybe. That really helps me out going into the spring season. And, fingers crossed, it looks like we're going to finish out this fall season with all the craziness of 2020, and hopefully 2021, brings some better things, and we don't have to worry about, are we going to play, not play? But at this point, I'm planning on playing soccer again in the spring. And again, check out the winter camps, push those on to your players. We'd love to have them. It's a great opportunity. And if we don't get you this winter, hopefully you're getting some fun turns on the slopes as well. And we'll see you in the spring. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to Coach Tall Guy. I'll be dropping just some coaching tips, some coaching hints, as well as practice sessions, themes about soccer in general. I'll also be talking about the state of youth sports in America, some of the things that I see as a coach, but not only as a coach, but a parent of 4 kiddos myself, 2 boys, 2 girls. What am I thinking as a parent? And I've been down the road of recreational soccer, competitive soccer, but that translates into other sports as well. So a lot of information on that channel. Hopefully you'll subscribe. And once again, thank you guys for what you do. Really appreciate it. I know I'll see you out on the fields. Hopefully we'll continue to have this awesome weather. And thanks again. We'll see ya. Bye.